gonna pick this up now. We're gonna pick it up at Proverbs, the 25th chapter. Proverbs 25, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 2. Again, we're gonna read one verse. 25 and 2. Go ahead and read it.
It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of king is to search out the matter.
See, that's what we're going to do. We're going to search out some matters today. We are going to search out some matters, and we're going to show you that the Bible is true and the Israelites exist. And you know, people need physical evidence. A lot of times they don't believe things until they see physical evidence. And so that's what we're going to do. And I wish the Lord had blessed me where I could have went to some of these places. Because I like a lot. I know it's a little corny, but I do like that archaeology. You understand? I do like a little archaeology. I wasn't fortunate enough to go dig it. And I do also like a little anthropology. And that is the study of ancient bones and cultures and everything. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to search out this matter. So let's go to Isaiah the 44th chapter. Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Isaiah 44 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen.
See, God have chosen this people. You know, I know people say, well, the Lord, he didn't choose no particular people. Yes, he did. According to the Bible, he did. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord that made thee, and formed thee from the womb, which we help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen.
Now he said this twice right here. He said, Jeshurun, that's Israel, whom I have chosen. Because these people are chosen people, and chosen by the God of Israel. Skip down to verse 6. Skip to verse 6. Go ahead and read it.
Thus saith the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first, and I am the last, and besides me there is no God.
Now, does this sound familiar? Because Jesus said the same thing in Revelation 22nd chapter. I am the first, and I am the last. Go ahead and read.
And who, as I, shall call, and shall declare it, and set it in order for me, since I appointed the ancient people.
Stop right there. You see what he said, right? He said, since I have appointed the ancient people, because our people are an ancient people. See, we didn't just fall out the sky. You know, we have a history just like everyone else. We have a history, and it's time that our history is told. Because everybody's calling us Africans. They call us Negroes. They call us black. We got a name, a different name every 10 years. Nobody's really calling us the children of Israel, though. And that's who we are. We are the children of Israel. Read that verse again. What verse you at?
7.
And
who, as I, shall call and shall declare it, and set it in order for me.
Go ahead.
Since I appointed the ancient people, and the things that are coming, and shall come.
Go ahead.
Let them show unto them.
He said the things that are coming and shall come. And that's what we're going to show you throughout this series. The children of Israel, we're going to show you things that have happened already, things that are going on right now, and we're going to show you things to come concerning our people. Because God has our history written right here in the Bible. Our past, our present, and our future. Let's go now. Let's go to Psalms 105. Psalm 105. And I know people get upset when they hear us say things like this. But it's true. And if you won't get upset, then you got to get upset with God. Because I didn't choose this people. God did. You know, I had a Gentile brother just called me a couple of days ago. He was real nice at first, but then when I started telling him about who we are, that's when he got upset. You people couldn't be the children of Israel. You're just a guy from Illinois. I said, yeah, but we came from somewhere. Yeah, we all came from Africa. I said, no, we came from Africa, but we came from Israel. Well, Israel is not in Africa. It's in Asia. I said, man, before they put the Suez Canal in there, Israel sat on the African continent. And you know, you want to call it Middle East, ain't no such thing as no Middle East. But now we understand that it does sit on the Asian continent, because if men really understand, if the world knew really that Israel sat on the African continent, then they would have to rewrite history. And they would have to include black people in this history. Amen. So we're going to set you in the Middle East and not in Africa. But anyway, let's go now. We're in Psalm 105, Psalm 105 and 1. Psalm 105 and 1. And I don't want nobody to get offended at the things that we're teaching for this month, because we're dealing with black history. Amen. And you know what? The Gentile is a part of our history. The Hamite is a part of our history. And the other Shemites are a part of our history. So we're going to include y'all too. We had Psalm 105 and 1, Psalm 105 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
Oh, give thanks unto the Lord. Call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the people.
Make known his deeds among the people. Skip to verse 5. And you know, that's what the problem is. His deeds haven't been made known among the people. Well, we're going to let you know his deeds. We're going to put the deeds out among the people today. Verse 5. Skip to verse 5. Go ahead and read it.
Remember his marvelous works that he had done, his wonders and his judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen.
Now, we done read this about 3 times already. It looks like he chose them to me. He chose the children of Israel. Go ahead and read.
He is the Lord our God. His judgments are in all the earth.
Now, skip to, because we're going to hit it and quit it. Skip to verse 17. Skip to verse 17. Go ahead and read it.
He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant.
Now Joseph, because we're going to get down into the lineage thing. We're going to do that in a later lesson. But we're going to, like I said, we're going to get down to that. But Joseph is the son of Jacob. In fact, this is his 11th son right here. Joseph, the son of Jacob. Jacob's the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is his 11th son, Joseph. He sent a man before them, even Joseph was sold for a servant,
whose feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in iron until the time that his word came. The word of the Lord tried him. The king sent and loosened him, even the ruler of his people, and let him go free. Now, look, so this is when he was in Egypt. Because you remember his brothers put him in a pit. And then some Ishmaelites came and got him out the pit and sold him into Egypt. See, Ishmaelites been selling people for slavery. They've been selling people for thousands of years, and they still doing it today. Ishmaelites, Arabs, they still doing it today, selling people as slaves. That's how we know that this Bible is real, and we know who's who. Go ahead and read. What verse you at? 21. He made him Lord of his house.
He made him Lord of his house.
And ruler of all his substance.
Now this is what Pharaoh did, because we just kind of cutting through the chase. Because we're going to come back here later, and we're going to lay it down for you for some more, dealing with Joseph. But go ahead and read. Verse 22.
And bind his princes at his pleasure, and teach his senators wisdom.
Oh, so you mean Joseph, the Israelite, taught the Egyptians, senators, wisdom? That's right. Because everybody want to attribute Egypt to everything. But look, Joseph, the Israelite, was teaching his senators wisdom. The Egyptian senators. Let's go now. we're going to look at something right here. We're going to, the first one, no, we're going to Genesis 41. Genesis 41. Genesis 41, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Genesis 41 and 1. Now, I'm trying not to hold y'all too long today because we're going to have a lot of stuff to cover this month. We got a lot of stuff to cover this month. That's a hint to my sisters that's helping me out on the Genesis 41, and we're going to pick up at verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, and fat flourished, and they fed in the meadow.
Now he said, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, and fat fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. So now this Pharaoh having this dream, and so Joseph is going to interpret this dream. So go ahead and read some more.
And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the bank of the river.
So he had the fatted flesh 7, and then the 7 ill-favored, lean-fleshed. Go ahead and read.
And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat on the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke, and he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came upon one stalk, ranked and good.
So he having a dream twice, but the Lord just showing him something else. Now he's showing him corn now. First he showed him calves, now he's showing him corn. Go ahead and read.
And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And 7 thin ears devoured the 7 ranked and full ears. And Pharaoh.
So now each time the lean ate up the fat, right? So now we got this 7 ears of corn, lean, which ate up the fat ears of corn. Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream.
Now, so he having this dream. I know he had to be like, man, what does this mean? Skip to verse 15. Skip to verse 15. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it.
Now he said, I heard that you can interpret dreams. But Joseph going to say, yeah, well, I can interpret dreams. Somebody who ever told you that told you right, man. He didn't say none of that. He gave God the glory. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
16. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace.
See, Joseph didn't go about bragging. He was an interpreter of dreams. But he said, it's not me. It is God. He is going to reveal your dream to you. Skip to verse 25. Skip to verse 25. Go ahead and read.
And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God had showed Pharaoh what he is about to do.
Now he said, your dream is one. You had 2 dreams, but it's one. It's actually one dream. God is about to show you what God is about to show you what he's about to do. Go ahead and read.
The 7 good kine are 7 years. And the 7 good ears are 7 years.
Go ahead.
The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. So
he's just telling me straight out, what does this mean? You're going to have 7 years of famine, and you're going to have 7 years of plenty. The 7 years of plenty going to come first, then you're going to have the 7 years of famine. Verse 28, go ahead.
This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh, what God is about to do to he that showeth unto Pharaoh.
Now, so he said, the Lord is about to show you, Pharaoh, what he's about to do to this country. Skip to verse 33. Skip to verse 33. Go ahead and read.
Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise.
Now this is what Joseph is telling Pharaoh now. And Pharaoh like, well, who's more wiser than you? I want you to do it. Go ahead and read.
And set him over the land of Egypt.
I'm sorry, read that verse again.
Now therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years.
He said, you know, look, you have to set this thing up now, Pharaoh, so when you have the 7 plenty years, that you can, you know, conserve enough grain or enough corn for the 7 years of famine. So you will have to do this. Go ahead and read.
And let them gather all the foods of those good years that came up, and lay up corn under the head of Pharaoh, and let them keep foods in the cities.
See, look, Joseph tell him, look, let them keep food in the city, and you set the food here and set it there for 7 years. Verse 36, go ahead.
And that the food shall be for store in the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants.
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto the servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is?
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art.
Pharaoh told Joseph, you know, none is just discreet and as wise as you are, Joseph. I'm going to set you over this business. Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt be over the house. According to thy word shall all my people.
Look, he's making them in second, putting them in second command, like vice president or something. You're going to be the ruler up under me. Whatever you say, that's what's going to happen, Joseph. Can you imagine he taking an Israelite or a Hebrew and putting him over the people and over his house and over all of Egypt? Some people try to say that Joseph was actually Imhotep. That was his Egyptian name. I'm not totally convinced about that just yet. You understand? Because I'm going to show you what this guy, they saying that this guy Imhotep done and what Joseph did it. I'm going a little too ahead of myself. Hold on for a minute. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
The middle of 40.
Go ahead. Read verse 40 again.
Thou shalt be ruled over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
He said, only in the throne will I be greater than thou. Is your mic on? Yeah, okay. Put it up a little closer there. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph,
See, I have too much more. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt.
Look, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. And you know, I know my Kemetic brothers, they don't like to hear this. They do not like to hear this. A Hebrew over the Egyptians? Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen.
Go ahead.
And put gold chains about his neck.
You know, it must have known Israel like gold chains. Put them around their neck. They like those. So for here, I'm just going to show you something real quick. This is Joseph's ring right here. It was discovered by a man called Simcha. Y'all don't, I'm butchering his name, so. Simcha Jacobovici. I suspect this guy is a Jewish guy or Edomite Jew. But here's the one who discovered Joseph's ring right here. This is a piece of Joseph's ring right here that was discovered in Egypt. But hold on one second, because we're gonna deal with Joseph some more. We're gonna come back to Joseph in a minute. It's gonna get interesting, so y'all wake up. It's going to get interesting in a minute. Right? So now, let's go on. Let's move on. Let's go to Acts, the 7th chapter. Acts the 7th chapter. Acts 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 17. Acts 7 and 17. Acts 7 and 17. Everybody got it?
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
But when the time of the promise drew nigh,
Your mic just don't sound right for some reason. Maybe we need to turn it up some. Is it on?
mic check, testing 1, 2. Mic check, testing 1, 2. How about now? Can you hear me?
Let's see. It's on. Okay. Can y'all hear him okay? Okay. All right. All right, go ahead. We're at Acts 7 and 17. Go ahead and read.
But when the time of the promise drew nigh, which God had sworn unto Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt. Till another king
Now,
arose.
look, now Israel, in slavery or in this country, and now next thing you know, they have a lot of babies. Because that's what Israel does. I can't work, and I'm feeling bad. I go home and go labor my wife, right? So now Israel got all these babies in the land of Egypt, and it's like Pharaoh's like, at one point, it's like, man, it's too many of these people. We got to do something about these people, because if our enemies come against us, they're going to help the enemy and fight against us. But go ahead and read.
18. Till another king arose, which knew not Joseph.
So now this other king rose, he didn't know Joseph. Go ahead and read.
The same dealt subtlety with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live.
Go ahead.
In which time Moses was born, and was exceedingly fair, and nourished up in his father's house.
All right,
3
so
months.
now we got Moses on the scene. Right? We're going to come back to Joseph in a little while. But he said, and there was time Moses was born, right? Go ahead and read.
21. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son.
Now, do you think that was by chance that Moses was taken up by Pharaoh's daughter? No. God had a plan for this people. And he's using Moses to deliver it. To deliver the people. And so that's why Moses ended up in the arms of Pharaoh's daughter, because God has a plan for this people. Skip down to verse 35. Verse 35.
This Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge?
See the master right there? This one right. Get over here. Where's the master? Sound like his mic is not on. Mine's not on. Okay. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Mic check. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Mic check. Testing 1, 2. Can you hear now? Testing 1, 2. Go ahead and talk, Rob.
Mic check, testing 1, 2.
One more time.
Mic check, testing 1, 2.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay. All right, so start that verse again. What verse?
35. This Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of an angel, which appeared unto him in the bush. He brought them out after that he had showed them wonders and signs in the land of Egypt and in the Red Sea.
So he said he brought them out of Egypt, and he brought them through the Red Sea, right? Go ahead.
And in the wilderness 40 years. This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your own brethren, like unto me,
now,
him shall ye
now
hear.
let's go now. Let's go to Exodus the 14th chapter. Exodus the 14th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Exodus the 14th chapter. Because this is when the children of Israel came up out of Egypt and they came through the Red Sea. And so we want to get that video ready there. Right? Exodus 14 and 1. Exodus 14 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Pihahiroth, between Midal and the sea over against Baal Zephron, before it shall ye encamp by the sea.
Go ahead.
For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel that ye are entangled in the land. The wilderness hath shut them in.
Because Pharaoh, God kept putting in Pharaoh's mind or hardening his heart to come after the children of Israel. First, he told him he hardened their heart when he sent out the lice and the frogs and everything, right? So Pharaoh, the Lord still hardened his heart till that last time when the children of Israel left up out of Egypt and went through the Red Sea. He hardened Pharaoh's heart one more time, and Pharaoh came after the children of Israel and was drowned in the Red Sea. But go ahead and read.
And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them.
See, if I'm going to harden his heart, that's really something. God can put it on the mind of a man to do something. Because most people, after they saw the blood or the rivers turn to blood, and there was no water to drink, and then Lord made it dark on the Egyptian side and light in the land of Goshen, most people be like, oh no, this God working with this people. We better give them whatever they want. But it was God hardening Pharaoh's heart so that he could punish Pharaoh for the things that he had done to the children of Israel, because he made them to serve a hard bondage. But go ahead and read. What verse you at?
4. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so.
Go ahead.
And it was told that the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have ye done this?
Now look, the people their hearts turning now. They going to Pharaoh, hey, why have you done this? Why you let these people go? We were living good when they were in the land. Because they had the children of Israel as slaves. So if I ain't got to do no work and I got somebody to do all the work for me, look, man, you're taking my work base away. Go ahead and read.
Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariots and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots.
Now look here, 600 chosen chariots. 600. Go ahead and read.
And all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
Now look, he's still hardening his heart. No, I'm gonna get Pharaoh. I'm gonna harden his heart again. So he put it in his mind, look, let's get these chariots ready. We're gonna get the horsemen ready, and we're going after them. Go ahead and read. Because Israel was in a pillar of a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Now I know, the average person look at that and say, hey man, we better not mess with these people. But God was hardening Pharaoh's heart so that he would come after them. Go ahead and read.
And he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out and highland. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them and camped by the sea, by Pihahiroth before Baal Zephon.
Skip down to verse 13. Skip to verse 13. So now, here they come after the children of Israel. They walking through the Red Sea on dry ground. Lord will split the Red Sea open. Now, you know, I've probably been scared to death, but I've been looking at them Egyptians. I better get out of here. I got to trust in the Lord or either die at the hand of the Egyptians. Amen. Go ahead and read.
13. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord.
See the salvation of the Lord. The Lord is getting ready to do something right here. Stand back. Don't fear. Go ahead and read.
Which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more.
Go ahead.
And the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward.
He said, why are you crying unto me, Moses? Send the people forward. Go forward. I don't know, they had to be looking like, well, this body of water here, where we going to go? We're going to all drown. But here come Moses. Go ahead and read.
But lift up thou thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
They're going to go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. Can you imagine that? It's night outside, and the Lord just opened up the Red Sea. Moses raised his hand up, and the Lord opened up the Red Sea. That had to be a sight to see, man. Verse 17, go ahead and read it.
And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians.
Look, he's still hardening Pharaoh's heart. Still hardening his heart. Go ahead and read.
And they shall follow them. And I will get me hour upon Pharaoh, upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. Skip down the verse, because the Lord said, look, I got to get my honor from among Pharaoh, because the thing that I'm about to do to him, the whole world at that time is going to know about it. And they knew about it. They knew when the world knew when the children of Israel came up out of Egypt. Because it was all news all over the world. Skip to verse 21. Skip to verse 21. Go ahead and read it. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. And the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them in the midst of the sea, even all of Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning, which the Lord looked unto the hosts of the Egyptians through the pillar of the fire of the cloud, and troubled the hosts of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels.
Stop right there. You see what he did? Something simple. He just snatched off their chariot wheels. And what happened?
And they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel.
Too late.
For the Lord fighteth against them, against the Egyptians.
The Lord just took off their chariot where they probably hit the horses. Go, move, move, move. And they just dragging the ground. Couldn't go nowhere. And now they figured it out. Look, the Lord is fighting for the children of Israel, but it was too late. It was too late. Go ahead and read.
26. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen.
Go ahead.
And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength. When the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts.
Now listen to this now. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh. Go ahead and read.
That came into the sea. After them.
Go ahead.
There remained not so much as one of them.
There remained not so much as one of them. So the Lord said, I'm going to get my honor upon Pharaoh. And that's what he did, because like I said, the whole world knew about this. And you know, if we know about it, the whole world knew about it. Go ahead and read.
But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left.
Go ahead.
Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the land of the Egyptians.
He saved them out of the hand of the Egyptians.
And Israel saw that the Egyptians dead upon the seashore.
Now, let's look at this video.
Expect to find remains of the Egyptian army.
Like others who had explored Nueva before him, Muller
We expect to find remains of the Egyptian army.
Like others who had explored Nueva before him, Muller immediately recognized the difficulty of this search.
If we assume that a number of artifacts were spread out on the seabed, sooner or later corals would start to grow on them. And of course, if you have a number of layers of coral growing on something, it's very hard to distinguish the structure that was there from the very beginning.
Though the coral complicates any search here, it may have been instrumental in preserving the shapes of ancient artifacts. For coral is a living organism that will not begin to grow on a foundation of sand or silt. Instead, it must first attach itself to a solid object, where it will sometimes conform to the shape of its host.
So for instance, if it would grow on a wooden artifact, the wood would normally disappear in the seawaters after a time. But if you have corals growing on the wooden artifact, the coral could have the shape of the wooden artifact. And then the corals would consume the wooden material over periods of time, but still keep the shape of the wooden artifacts.
During the course of his explorations, Muller observed that the pattern of coral growth at Nueva differed from other parts of the Gulf. Unlike the coral at the northern and southern ends of Aqaba, which often forms large, dense reefs, some covering many acres, the formations at Nueva Beach are generally smaller and scattered randomly across the sea floor. Divers familiar with the area have compared the distribution of coral here to a junkyard and the aftermath of a disaster. This description is fitting, and among the strange formations in these waters, many display features indicative of human engineering.
When we dive and when we film at the Nueva location, we look for certain structures, and you try to look for 90-degree angles or circular objects, wheel-like structures. So that is what you scan for, so to speak, when you dive. There are situations where you see something that looks like an axle, a hub, something that looks like a wheel, and you say to yourself, this is not a coral reef, this is a coral growth on an artifact. And that is what's different to me when I compare corals at other locations around the world.
Since the earliest explorations at Nueva, one distinctive type of formation has often been identified on the sea floor. A slender, table-like structure, sometimes standing on end, with a coral-encrusted base, a straight shaft, and a circular top.
It's a 90-degree angle, a right angle, between something that looks like an axle and the wheel. And you can see this in different varieties, and it looks very different from normal coral growth. And it is like a man-made structure with a coral growth on it.
While most of the possible artifacts found off the coast of Nueva are covered with coral, one significant discovery was not.
There is one find at the Nueva location that is of great interest, and that is the gilded wheel. It is a wooden basic structure of the wheel and is covered with gold, or electrum. It's a mixture of silver and gold, and corals have not been able to grow on it. It's been very well preserved. Although it's very fragile, it seems like the wooden content has been dissolved. So I mean, you could break it if you would try to remove it.
After its discovery, the fragile wheel-shaped veneer was photographed, then left in place on the sea floor. Later analysis revealed that its dimensions and design resembled four-spoke chariot wheels painted on an 18th dynasty tomb wall near the biblical date of the Exodus.
Of the Red Sea, which is a Suez, and couldn't find anything. But when they looked on the sea, on the side of Aqaba, that's where they found the trail going from Egypt right into the wilderness right there. Right? And so they even found, I could have showed you, I could have had another video. They had horse bones, human remains, chariot wheels, all of this debris found from one side of Egypt going right into the desert, into Mount Sinai. Now this is one of the things that got me when I started looking for biblical and archaeological proof of the existence of Israel. And this right here is proof that the children of Israel came through the Red Sea. And there's so many, there's so much evidence that the children of Israel came through the Red Sea. It's just, it's just readily out there. That's all you have to do is go on your computer and punch up Red Sea crossings, and you will see so many different videos that men have went underwater now. So many people have went underwater and looked at this debris and have taken videos and pictures and everything of this debris. Now tell me something. How did this debris get there? And why is it in the same location where the children of Israel crossed, where the Bible says the children of Israel crossed from one side to the other? Why is this debris there? Now, let's go back to the Bible. Let's go to Proverbs, the 22nd chapter, because I want to show you something dealing with this too. Proverbs, the 22nd chapter. Proverbs 22, and we're going to pick it up at verse 28. Proverbs 22 and 28. And if anybody has any discrepancies with some of the things that we're showing today, then just give us a call at 847-636-47292. That's my number directly. All right? Now, we have Proverbs 22 and 28. Proverbs 22 and 28. Go ahead and read that.
Remove not the ancient landmarks.
Remove not the ancient landmarks
which thy fathers have set.
So now, hold on one second. So he said, remove not the ancient landmarks which thy fathers have set. Now this is Solomon, because Solomon wrote the Proverbs, right? So he said, don't remove the ancient landmarks. Let's go to Isaiah the 19th chapter. Isaiah 19. Isaiah 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 19. Like I said, I'm not going to hold y'all long, because you're going to get filled up with Israel this month. You're going to get filled up with Israel. By the time you get out of here, you're going to know that we are the children of Israel, and the children of Israel do exist. Isaiah 19 and 19. Isaiah 19 and 19. Go ahead and read that. So he said, don't remove the landmarks. Isaiah 19 and 19. Go ahead.
In that day shall there be an altar unto the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. Now
he said it's going to be an altar set up in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. A pillar at the border. Let's go now. Let's show you this picture right here, and we're going to read that caption under there. We're going to show you this picture. Now, this picture is at Nueva. It said the site of the Red Sea crossing, the true Mount Sinai. Because it was two pillars. One on the Egyptian side and one on the Saudi Arabia side, where the Red Sea crossing happened. So now go ahead and read that, Rob.
Discovered by Ron Wyatt in 1978.
Now, Ron Wyatt is a biblical archaeologist, and he has discovered a lot of biblical artifacts and places and everything. But go ahead and read.
I'll read the top here.
Yeah, read that.
Nueva, the site of the Red Sea crossing.
Now, we just saw Nueva.
The true
That's the Gulf of Aqaba. That's what we saw underwater. It was at Nueva. But go ahead and start that over. Go ahead.
The true Mount Sinai. Discovered by Ron Wyatt in 1978. A pair of pillars on the Egyptian side, Nueva, and the Saudi side of the Gulf of Aqaba. The Red Sea.
The Red Sea. So this is where the crossing took place. And Solomon put these pillars up to commemorate this. Go ahead and read.
The one on the Egyptian side had fallen over and was...
Wait a minute. Didn't the children of Israel come out of Egypt? And they went right into the desert, right when they came out of Egypt, on the Saudi Arabia side, when they walked through the Red Sea. So now you got pillars on both sides. But somebody knocked down one of the pillars, they were saying, but the one on the Saudi side is still sitting there. And look what it had on it. Go ahead and read. I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead and start it where it says the Red Sea.
The one on the Egyptian side had fallen over and was in the sea. Its inscriptions had worn off. Go ahead and read. The one on the Saudi side was inscribed with the words Yahweh.
It was inscribed with the words Yahweh. That's God's name, right? What else?
Pharaoh. Mizraim.
Who was Mizraim? That's Egypt, right?
Moses.
Go ahead. Moses.
Death. Water. Solomon. Edom.
Look at Edom even there. Israel's twin brother. We're going to deal with him a little bit too. So he said the inscription on one of these pillars was Yahweh, Pharaoh, Mizraim, Moses, death, water, Solomon, Edom. Now look at these inscriptions that's on the Saudi Arabia side. They say that Solomon is the one who erected both of these pillars on both sides to commemorate the Red Sea crossing from one side of Egypt, from Egypt to Saudi Arabia side. Now, is this made up? Somebody just made this up? No, this is not made up. The children of Israel crossed from Egypt into the Saudi Arabia through the Red Sea. Go ahead and read some more.
The Saudi pillar has been removed by the Saudis, but the one on the Nueva side is still standing and can be visited.
See, because, they found out, Ron Wyatt went and told them, well, this is what these pillars mean, and this is what's on them and everything. They had them, the words interpreted on there, and the Saudis like, what? We got to do something with this. So, of course, they wanted to take it for themselves. Right? Now, let's go to 1 Kings, the 21st chapter. 1 Kings, the 21st chapter. Because there is evidence and proof that the children of Israel exist. We had 1 Kings, the 21st chapter. 1 Kings, the 21st chapter. And we will pick it up at verse 1. 1 Kings 21 and 1. Will you get it, brother? Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hired by the by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria.
Now this is King Ahab right here. This is Jezebel's husband. So Jezebel wasn't no woman of the night. Jezebel was a queen. If she had her husband was a king, then what was she? So why would she be a harlot then? She had 400 prophets under her. Go ahead and read.
2.
Uh-huh.
And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyards, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house. And I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it.
Go ahead.
Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money.
Now look, so Ahab like, look, I'm the king. I can go ahead and get this vineyard from him. So, but look, I'm going to be nice about it. I'll give you another vineyard, or either I'll pay you for it. Because I like that vineyard. It's close to my house. Go ahead and read verse 3.
And Naboth said unto Ahab, The Lord forbid it me, that I should give thee the inheritance of my fathers unto thee.
He said, God forbid, I'm not giving you, selling you my inheritance. Because that was a shameful thing in Israel. If you had your inheritance and you go and sold it. That was a shameful thing. He's like, God forbid, I'll give you my inheritance. Now he's talking to the king. So what did the king do? Go ahead.
And Ahab came unto his house heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken unto him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed.
See, he pouting like a little kid. You know how a kid, you don't give them something, they go pout. I ain't gonna eat nothing. So this is what Ahab was doing. He pouting now. So he's going to lay down on his bed. Go ahead and read.
And turned away his face. And would not eat no bread.
Say, I ain't eating nothing. He upset. Pouting. So in the meantime, here comes Jezebel, his wife. She's like, you the king. You can take Nabal's vineyard if you want it. Look, I'm going to give it to you. Go ahead and read.
But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread?
Now, why are you so sad? Why are you not eating? Because he a little kid pouting. What's wrong with you? Why are you not eating? So now he's going to explain to her what happened. Go ahead.
And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard.
I will not give thee my vineyard. Why? Because that was his inheritance. He couldn't give this man his inheritance. Go ahead and read.
And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Doest thou not govern the kingdom of Israel?
He said, aren't you the king in Israel? You running things. Go ahead and read.
Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee thy vineyard, Naboth the Jezreelite.
She said, look, get up and eat. Don't worry about that. I'm going to give you the vineyard. So now she's going to conspire against Naboth to get his vineyard, have him killed, and get his vineyard. But go ahead and read.
So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal.
Stop right there. Now, she sealed them with his seal. With Ahab's seal. Go ahead and read.
And sent the letters unto the elders, and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling at Naboth.
Now, we're not going to read the rest of the story, but she sealed this letter that she wrote with his seal. So we're going to look at her seal. So now, let's go to that next slide. All right, so now this is a slide, this is a slide or a seal of Jezebel's. So now let's read that.
Ancient seal belonging to Queen Jezebel.
See, because she was a queen. She wasn't no harlot running around in the streets. She was a queen. Go ahead and read.
Source, Utrecht University.
So this comes from Utrecht University,
An Old Testament scholar has discovered that the seal found in 1964 and dated from the 9th century BCE, belonging to the biblical figure, Queen Jezebel.
Now look, he found this seal in 1964. And he said, you looked at this seal and saw that it belonged to Queen Jezebel. Now we know they had seals because we just saw that she used Ahab's seal to seal that letter, right? Amen. But we haven't found his seal yet, but they found her seal. Go ahead and read.
The seal symbols serve as the basis for Coppel's conclusion. The seal was discovered in 1964. Utrecht Old Testament scholar Marjo Koppel has demonstrated that it belonged to Queen Jezebel in the 9th century BC.
So now he looked at this seal, like I said, and said, look, this inscription on here, this got the name Jezebel on it. And what did the inscription say? Go ahead.
It means belongs to Jezebel.
So the inscription is I guess that's an IYZBL, right?
Yes.
Means what? Belongs to Jezebel, right? And this is in the Israeli Museum in Jerusalem right now. So now here is proof that the children of Israel existed, because we just read about Jezebel in the Bible. Now we see they have found her seal. Now let's go to the next slide. This seal right here is a seal of Hezekiah. Originally I thought this was an insect, right? But this is a sun right here with wings on it and an ankh. Well, where the ankh come from? The ankh comes from the Egyptians, right? So we know that the children of Israel were in Egypt. And so this is one of the symbols on this seal. Now, let's read a little bit about Hezekiah's seal. Go ahead.
King Hezekiah in the Bible, royal seal of Hezekiah comes to light.
Now, wait a minute. So, Hezekiah? Yes, Hezekiah of the Bible. And we're going to read a little bit about Hezekiah in a minute. But go ahead and read.
For the first time, the royal seal of King Hezekiah in the Bible was founded in an archaeological excavation.
Oh, I wish I was there. I wish I was there. They digging and everything and then find the seal of Hezekiah. I know they had been like, whoa, this thing is priceless. Go ahead.
The stamped clay seal, also known as a bulla, was discovered in the Ophel excavations led by Dr. Eliot Mazar in the foot of the southern wall of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
Look at where they found it at. In the southern wall of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Isn't that where Hezekiah was? In Jerusalem? Go ahead and read.
The discovery was announced in a press released by the Hebrew University of Jerusalem Institution of Archaeology, under whose auspices the excavations were conducted.
Go ahead.
The bulla,
this seal now, the bulla, the Hezekiah seal. Go ahead.
Which measures just over 1 centimeter in diameter, bears a seal impression depicting a two-winged sun disk flanked by an ankh symbol and containing a Hebrew inscription that reads, belongs to Hezekiah.
Belonging to Hezekiah. This is the inscription that's on this seal. Belonging to Hezekiah. Go ahead.
Son of Ahaz.
And that's who the Bible says Hezekiah's father is. Ahaz. Son of Ahaz.
King of Judah.
King of Judah. Now, let's go now. Let's go to that. Don't we got to have another seal? We're not going to read about it, but this is Isaiah's seal right here, which was also discovered in Israel. The Isaiah seal. Now, let's go to let's go now. We're gonna read a little bit about Hezekiah and the time that Sennacherib came to destroy Lachish. So let's go to 2 Chronicles, the 32nd chapter. 2 Chronicles 32. 2 Chronicles, the 32nd chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. This is when Sennacherib came to destroy Lachish, which was one of the cities in Israel. He couldn't get to Jerusalem. He got in on Lachish to come in and destroy some of it. But then he started heading towards Jerusalem, and that's when he met his Waterloo. That was his form. The Lord killed 185,000 of them in one night. Now history says that it was mice that came in and infected all the people in one night, but the Bible says it was an angel. I'm going with the Bible. We had 2 Chronicles 32, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
After these things and the establishment thereof, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and entered into Judah and encamped against the fenced city and thought to win them for himself. And when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib was come and that he was proposed to fight against Jerusalem, he took counsel with his princes and his mighty men to stop the waters of the fountains which were within the city, and they did help him.
Now, so you can go on you can go in the history book and look up Hezekiah's tunnels. You could go on the internet and look up Hezekiah's tunnels. They are still there, intact. In fact, they have made it a tourist attraction now, where people go and they pay their money or whatever, and they visit this site where Hezekiah's tunnels are. Go ahead and read.
4.
Now, if Hezekiah didn't make them, then who made them? Go ahead and read.
So there was gathered much people together, who stopped all the fountains and the brook that ran through the midst of the land, saying, why should the kings of Assyria come and find much water?
It's like, when he get here, he's not going to find it. Why should he come here and find water? We're not going to give him water to drink, and then he coming to destroy us. So he gonna starve, or he gonna thirst to death. So they made these tunnels through the city, and these tunnels are still in the land of Israel. Skip now, because we want to get to Sennacherib now. Skip down to verse 7. Skip to verse 7. Go ahead and read.
Be strong and courageous. Be not afraid nor dismayed for the king of Assyria, nor for all the multitude that is with him. For there be more with us than with him.
Go ahead.
With him is an arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles.
Go ahead.
And the people rested themselves upon the words of Hezekiah, king of Judah.
Now this is what Hezekiah is telling them. Don't worry about Sennacherib, because the Lord is going to defend us. He's going to defend this city. Go ahead and read.
After this did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, send his servants to Jerusalem, but he himself laid siege against
Lachish. So he himself laid siege against Lachish. Go ahead. Now this is one of the cities in Israel, Lachish, that the children of Israel dwelt in. Lachish. Go ahead and read.
And all his power with him. Unto Hezekiah, king of Judah, and unto all Judah that were at Jerusalem, saying, Thus saith Sennacherib, king of Assyria, whereon do ye trust, that ye abide in the siege in Jerusalem?
Now, so he's got Lachish under siege, right? So now let's see a couple of, that next slide. So now this is the siege of Lachish, right? And so right here, this is when the people were being what they call filleted, right? And right here, these are Depicted what happened when he went and laid siege on Lachish. And these are authentic, and they were around 701 BC, the scientists say, or the archaeologists say. And here we are reading it in the Bible, but then when they found Sennacherib's palace, look at what they found in his palace. You got that video ready? Let's go with that video.
The previous videos showed King Sennacherib's decisive and destructive Assyrian expansion. The king was also constructing a palace without rival at his capital city, Nineveh, where he chronicled his battlefield successes. Between 702 and 690 BCE, Sennacherib enlarged his new capital city and built palaces and temples on the Citadel Mound near the northwest corner of the city. The inner spaces of Sennacherib's palace without rival were accessible only to family and senior court officials. The immense guardian figures at the doorway, the battle scenes carved on the walls, and the layout of the rooms were planned to remind people of the king's absolute control. For example, this alignment gives the impression of great distance, as each more distant pair of human-headed bulls is slightly smaller to exaggerate the perspective. Centered at the end of this passage are wall reliefs depicting Sennacherib's destruction of Lachish. The king thus used the battlefield successes as a warning to his family and inner administrative circle. The events shown here took place in 701 BCE during the king's third campaign along the Phoenician coast and against the cities of Philistia and Judea, during which he defeated the Egyptian army and laid siege to King Hezekiah's Jerusalem. Isaiah chapter 36 chronicles this siege, and Sennacherib's successes are recounted on stone and clay cylinders and prisms found at Nineveh, providing unique correlations among the biblical texts, contemporary Assyrian documents, and excavated evidence. Here, rows of Assyrian archers, slingers, and spearmen move toward the city. Lachish is situated on rocky terrain and depicted with a double set of walls with turrets and battlements with square windows. All these features have been verified through excavation at Lachish itself. As townspeople flee the city down the roadway leading from the town gate, Lachish is attacked by Assyrian siege engines and ramps. This huge ramp has actually been found against the walls of the ruined city. Judeans walk camels and Assyrians take spoils toward the right. These reliefs show both the battle and its aftermath, during which prisoners, deportees, and captured goods are being brought before the enthroned king. The scenes are carved as if seen from the neighboring hilltop, where Sennacherib strategically built his encampment. While Sennacherib oversaw the destruction of Lachish, his representatives left for Jerusalem. In Isaiah 36:2, "And the king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish to Jerusalem unto King Hezekiah with a great army. And he stood by the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field." These unpleasant scenes show deportees leaving the city, while unfortunate members of Hezekiah's local ruling government are being tortured. The cuneiform inscription tells us, "Sennacherib, king of the world, king of Assyria, set up a throne, and the booty of Lachish passed before him." Another line of text reads, "Tent of Sennacherib, king of Assyria." At the foot of the hill, the king's chariot awaits, along with a line of soldiers and booty that includes symbols of state, such as the governor's throne, his chariot, and scepter. It's perhaps from this campsite throne that Sennacherib received the message sent by Hezekiah, then huddled in a besieged Jerusalem, and mentioned in 2 Kings 18, "I have done wrong. Withdraw from me, and I will pay you whatever you demand of me." The biblical passage then tells us that Sennacherib accepts heavy tribute from Hezekiah in exchange for not destroying Jerusalem. Here we see post-battle activities at the Assyrian campsite. Isaiah 37:8 tells us, "Rabshakeh returned and found the Assyrian king warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish." Isaiah 37:37 completes the story. "So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh." Thus, these reliefs link together famous people and deeds chronicled in the Bible and corroborated in Assyrian inscriptions, while giving vivid imagery to the actions there described.
Yeah, so now Sennacherib, the 10 tribes, the northern part of the land of Israel is conquered. Now he is turning his sights towards the south, and that's where Lachish comes in.
He wants to get both a hold of this region and open as well the region for continuing to Egypt. The main goal is Egypt. There's a lot more wealth in Egypt that he wishes to capture, and Lachish is in the way. Lachish must be taken.
Must be taken.
So in 701 BC, we have it very well documented, mostly by Sennacherib. The Bible only hints to this campaign. He comes with his forces and he camps and besieges the city. He makes a ramp that will be built against one of its corners, and eventually he conquers it. We know this from archaeology, not from the Bible, but not local archaeology. It's finds that were made in Nineveh in the 19th century. And after the finds were made there, then local archaeologists here started asking, where did it happen? And eventually we found out right here.
Wow.
You are looking at the very ramp that the Assyrians built against where the flag of Israel is today. And we have here stones that are like the size of tennis balls from the slingshots. We found countless arrowheads, helmet decorations, okay? There was a fierce battle at this very place, which is now nice and quiet.
You had mentioned on our way over that King Sennacherib may have actually been here at the siege of Lachish, the powerful king of the Assyrian Empire.
Yeah, he personally led his forces.
So he was here, he personally led his forces.
I think he camped over there. This is like a hill viewing the site. And if this is the place of the ramp, then he probably sat and commanded and monitored that it's done properly.
Sennacherib is here, he's camped out. What does he see? What is going on here?
Two sets of walls around the top of the mound. He sees a gate complex over here, which is always the most vulnerable part of the site. But that gate is a very well designed with two actual gates and a killing zone in the middle. He knows that attacking from the gate might put him into a trap. He chooses the spot where the hill around the mountain is not as steep, and his soldiers then start putting a lot of stones. Look, we found them. A lot of beaten earth and stones and a fill to eventually create a ramp that will enable battering ram to pound against the wall.
Very similar to Masada.
Very similar story, and even a more heroic one, because at Masada at the end they committed suicide. Here it seems that they battled till the bitter end, and we have found archaeological evidence of apparently those who lost in battle. We found two caves filled with skulls. Skulls, meaning whoever they captured, they chopped their heads off and someone later piled it into a cave in this area.
Look, we had fierce Jewish Israelite resistance here to this siege, but I imagine once the Assyrians broke through, it had to be bloody and there had to be a lot of carnage.
Yes, level 3 in Lachish, the destruction level caused by Sennacherib and his Assyrian forces, is a very clear, thick layer of dark ash and total destruction. They really wiped out the Jewish resistance here. This was probably a major trauma for the whole region. On the other hand, Sennacherib failed to conquer the capital.
Show everybody that this story or this in the Bible is true. It's getting a little warm in here.
Feel good.
Okay, so I just wanted to show. Now that is proof that what the Bible says about Sennacherib coming to destroy Lachish actually happened. And by the way, that second part of that video that you saw is the actual place. The actual place called, or the actual town called Lachish, where it actually happened. And you see that mound that they showed? That's where the ramp was that he went up to get to the people at. Does everybody understand?
Amen.
These things that we're reading about today actually happened. And there's archaeological evidence that these things have happened. That's why I named this Black History Proof that the Israelites exist. They did exist.
Amen.
And we do exist today. And we're going to show you that we exist. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 32nd chapter, because over here in Jeremiah had proof. He had proof, and that's what we're showing you today. Evidence. Evidence. We're at Jeremiah 32, and we're going to pick up at verse 9. Jeremiah 32 and 9. And when you come to people with these prophecies and with this book, you got to have some proof. And now we see that there is proof that the children of Israel actually existed according to what the Bible says and according to what archaeology says. No more that, well, they never existed. Where's your proof? There it is right there. Amen. And God has given us the resources that we can just go on our computers. We don't have to I didn't have to actually go to Lachish, although I wish I could. But men have already excavated these towns and these countries and found biblical archaeology, found the locations of these places. Now I got something else I want to show you in a minute that most people don't really know about. This archaeology that you are seeing today is pretty much hid, especially from Israel, especially from us. Otherwise, you wouldn't have our brothers calling themselves Egyptians or Kemetic saying that the children of Israel never existed. We're at Jeremiah 32 and 9. Jeremiah 32 and 9. Go ahead and read it.
And I bought a field. And I bought a field of Hanamiel, my uncle's son, that was in Anahoth, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver. And I subscribed the evidence and sealed it.
He said, I subscribed the evidence and then I sealed it. And that's what we're doing today. We are subscribing you the evidence. Go ahead and read.
And took witness and weighed him the money in the balances. So I took the evidence of the purchase, both that which was sealed according to the law and customs, and that which was open. And I gave the evidence of the purchase unto Baruch, the son of Neri, the son of Masai, and the son of Hanamiel, mine uncle's son.
Go ahead.
And in the presence of the witnesses that subscribed the book of the purchase before all the Jews that sat in the court of the prisons.
So now he giving them evidence that he made this purchase. Right? Go ahead and read verse 13.
And I charged Baruch before him, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, take this evidence of the purchase, both which is sealed, and this evidence which is open, and put them in an earthen vessel, that they may continue many days.
And that's what the Lord have done. He have taken these men who study biblical archaeology, and they have found the evidence that the children of Israel exist. And that this Bible is true. And there is so much evidence out here now. That's why I don't understand how people say that the Bible is not true. Because there is so much evidence. And don't let me get into prophecy. Don't let me get into prophecy, because that's how I just, I start getting into prophecy, then I just wipe them away. People don't have nothing else to say after you show prophecy. But look, a lot of people like physical evidence, and now you have some physical evidence that the Bible is true. Physical evidence. I hope the Lord let me one day go to see some of this evidence. But anyway, let's go now. Let's go to 1 Timothy, the 6th chapter. 1 Timothy, because this is what, because a lot of times when people say these things, and see, by reading the Bible, that the Bible is true. But then you got people that come to you and say all manner of evil against the Bible and say, talk all type of crazy stuff, like this guy here just a couple of days ago. So, you know, he said that the Jews were actually Arabs, and that the ancient Egyptians were Arabs. I'm like, how could the ancient Egyptians be Arab when the Ishmael's mother was an Egyptian? And then everybody knows now that the genealogy is reckoned by who? The father. So Ishmael wasn't a Jew, neither was he an Egyptian. The Egyptians came out of Ham, right? Who did Ishmael come out of? Shem, right? So now how could Ishmael be an Egyptian? So I hit him with this. I said, well, you know that in the 6th century, around the 6th century, the Arabs took over Egypt. Because he kept hollering about the bones that they found in Egypt, and they were Arab. I said, yeah, of course you're going to find some ancient bones of some Arabs, because the Arabs took over Egypt around the 6th century. Egypt was originally an African country. The Egyptians were black people, and we're going to show you that. They were black people. We had 1 Timothy 6 now. 1 Timothy 6 and 17. So this is what I need to learn, start learning. Because the brother was talking good at first, but then he started getting crazy because I was showing him that we are the children of Israel. And then you're going to get really crazy now, because you're going to get an eye full of Israel and an ear full this month. So you're really going to get crazy. 1 Timothy 6 and 17. Go ahead and read it.
Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not in this world, that they be not high-minded.
See, you know, he said, charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded. Because, you know, a lot of people got a little money, and so they get high-minded. They don't believe in no Bible and all this. I done this. I made this money myself. No such thing as God. They get high-minded. Go ahead and read.
Nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God.
That's who you trust in, the living God. Who's the living God? The God